All right, so we're back in here in the shop, and we're taking a look at these panels here that we just did that prime and repair on. I think this is it anyway, or maybe it's this one. Oh, it must be this one. So you can see it. Oh, come on, focus you. Tough to get this thing to focus on such a small thing, but there is some sanding marks and stuff like that that I'll have to try and straighten out on that one. But then let's come over here to the ones that we hit with the adhesion promoter. So here's one that's raw, okay? Hasn't been touched, we haven't sanded it, we haven't hit with anything. Here's one that's been block sanded once, and now it's got adhesion promoter on it. Look at that surface difference. It's uniform, but at the same time you can still see all the print lines, okay? So this is ready for primer right here. So we're gonna take this out and we're gonna give this a prime. And let's check back when we're out. All right, so we're back out here at the bench. We got our pieces that are ready for first prime. So we've got some old tack cloth here. And if we look, it looks like we can see some hairs and stuff on here. So we're just gonna give this a quick wipe with this. It should pick up any little linties and stuff like that that are on here. Let's see if we can find a clean spot, I guess right here. Let's do this one. We're gonna get out a clean piece later for the final finished piece. Okay, so we got that all clean there. And then we have the final repair that we're doing on this panel here. So I sanded this out off camera. So this should hopefully be the last sand for this before we can move on to finish. Okay, so that looks good. Those look good. Let's tuck that in there. All right, so we got our high build primer filler. Oh, let me stabilize this. I shook it off camera, so that should be fine. Okay, so these ones haven't had it yet, so these can get pretty fat. So let's clear the can. Okay, I'm gonna start out here. We're gonna come across. Maybe we need a few more rocks on our paper here. Hold on. Okay, that should keep our paper down a little bit better. I don't want it flapping around and getting in the way. Okay, so let's start again. Stabilize the thing. Okay. Clear the can. Okay, we're gonna go all the way across. Okay, big fat heavy coat here. Look at that. And now this one. There we go. So let's get this edge. Let's get this edge. And then now this one here. Okay. So here we go. Across. It's a little heavier than we needed. This panel's wrapping up, but that's okay. And let's just try and touch up. I can see a little red there. And then let's just try and even this out just a little. Oh, whatever. We're gonna have to block this down anyways. And then these look like they basically flash dried. Okay, I'm gonna shake the can and then we'll. Okay, remember, fire the can off the product, right? Get it ready, and then start off the piece. Come across. One fluid motion. Again, we start off the piece. Come across. So now let's take a look at our two different pieces here. So this has had, let's just call it 4 coats of this product block sanded a bunch, okay? Let's look at the surface. Let's come over to these. See the difference? So we'll have to sand these down and then do it again. But at this point, I'd give them 20-30 minutes to cure before we work the panel. And then here's our finished one again. So this is going to need a quick block of 1200, and we can move on to color tonight with this one. All right, we'll check back later. All right, so while those pieces dry, I figured it's a great opportunity to talk about a few other things that you're going to encounter doing this. So we've been talking about block sanding, right? Like using a flat block to work a flat panel, okay? Like these doors, like the rear fenders there. You can see while they're not totally flat, they're mainly flat, okay? But what we haven't talked about is something that has complex curves or compound curves like this hood here. So you have different sort of areas where the print is doing different things, right? Like you're coming down after this part of the hood and then rising up into the fender and then coming back down. You've got a rise up here in the cowl. You have a spot here where you have two different prints that come together. You have the grill, and then it starts meeting up with the hood. So that can come back to bite you. There's a bunch of different things going on here. So when you're starting to work this piece, you can't really go at it with something like this. This is too big, and you also need it to be able to contour to those curves, but you don't want to flatten them out. You want to work it. You want to work the piece maintaining the shape. So this is where you start getting into soft blocks. You don't want to use your fingers, because if you start sanding with your finger, you tend to leave a weird impression, okay? So you want to use something like this. This is just a piece of emery cloth. You get this at an auto body supply, same sort of place I got a lot of this stuff. And I've cut it down. It comes in like 12 by 12 or 18 by 12 sheets, and I cut it into little strips, and then you can wrap this in whatever you're working with, whether it's 400, 1200, whatever. You can wrap this up in it, and then you can start to actually work these curves. And so that's what I did to this piece here in order to maintain the shape of everything and get that kick up of the cowl and all that sort of stuff. So I'll overlay a couple of photos of this piece while it was being worked, and you can see different stages that there was filler and stuff on here to maintain these shapes. And you can take a look at the hood where it meets the grill, and how many times I had to put filler there and kind of work that out. So yeah, basically you're going to be just sanding this and putting coating after coating after coating of filler and glaze on here, where maybe you've got an area that's you've got this print's really good, okay? I don't really see a spot where it's bad, but I mean, even if we flip it over on the back side, I'm just trying to find some porosity or something in these prints from Tallboy, but they are so good. So yeah, again, trying to find anything here. Well, let's just say that this one here had some areas in around the cowl and stuff that I had to build up. As I was sanding them, you'd reveal areas within the print, and I basically had to just stop at one point and decide that I need to build the surface back. I couldn't keep chasing it down. I had to do this dance between building it up and taking it down until I just basically had to kind of call it at having the shape. At that point, when I was doing this area, I was using my finger, but for the most part, I was using this dude, and then I was using that guy there. So then the other thing I want to talk about when it comes to this stuff is print lines. So this was printed in this direction. So when it comes to working this hood, that really works in your advantage because you're going against the grain. And so you're knocking that grain down as you're naturally wanting to work this piece in this direction. This particular hood was printed in the other orientation. So what I was finding as I was working that piece, and we can use this as an example here. So when I was working that piece and I'd put filler on it, I'd sand it down, blah, 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 I kept having this ghosting, kind of like what you see here, okay? And it took me a few evenings looking at it and working it to kind of figure out what needed to be done. But what I needed to do was directional sanding. So I needed to go against the grain to break that up. So when you're looking at this, that's not really how you want to work it, right? You want to go like this. But so it took a lot of going across the hood in this direction everywhere. And all of a sudden, after I primed it, after a few times of that, magically, you would end up with something like this, where you just don't see those print lines anymore. But that takes time. It takes labor. So if I am totally honest with what's into the panels that you see on here, so roof, doors, hood, I've got around 40 hours into this. And that is purely based on the print quality. These being of a better resolution, they don't need that level of time into them. These rear fenders, I have, 2 hours of finishing into them so far to have them ready for paint. That's unbelievable. I could even push it maybe to 3 hours, but it's not a lot of time compared to the other stuff that I've had to work with over the past. So another tip that I will spread out here is when you're dealing with pieces that have shapes like this, you have to make sure you're supporting the piece. So another example is this fender here. You can't just lay this on the table and work it. You have to make sure that what I do is I'll hang this over the edge of the table. Okay, hang these pieces over the edge of the table. Another example would be this hood, right? How do you support this and be able to work this piece? So for me, I had a little wooden box and it fit perfectly on the corner of it. And it supported it and it kept it in place, and that allowed me to work it. Another option would be maybe a cardboard box, or maybe you've got some foam or something like that you can put on here to then support it. Because if you push on it, not only will you change the shape, but you can also risk cracking it. So a couple tips there while we're waiting for the other stuff to dry, and then we can do our final sand. So we'll check back in a little bit.
So about 4 hours has gone by since we were working on these outside. In the center here, we have the ones that just have the first go of filler primer. So you can kind of see what those parts look like now. Over here, we have our raw hood that we've done nothing with. The next stage to that would be sanding this, right? This roof needs a little bit more sanding. We've moved on here with the filler primer after we've done our adhesion coating. And now we have these here, which are ready for our final paint. So these have been block sanded 5 times now. The final round was just done with 1200. And then once that was done, what I did is I tack cloth the pieces. So like I said, here's that tack cloth. And here's what it looks like after I rubbed those parts. And that's how much dust and stuff was on there. And then here's one I've been using for a while, right? I keep it around in the shop because it works for wiping down a table and stuff like that. It grabs a lot of the dust and debris and things like that that are on there. So it's still worth it for now. But when I'm done with this, I stick it back in the package because it's still good. There's no point in tossing it. These last quite a while because you can open it up and then you just keep folding it. So we'll save that for the next set of panels that we're doing. So yeah, back over here now. We're ready to start shooting these. So I'm going to clear the bench. We'll make sure there's no dust or anything on here. I did put down new paper. I'm sure you noticed between takes, between cuts, sorry. So this is fresh, so there should be nothing on here. Shouldn't be any dust or any sanding stuff. But yeah, so we'll clear the bench. We'll get ready to spray. Okay, so we're ready to paint here. We got the same color blue, the rest of the body here. I've already shaken that can for a little bit. We got our work pieces offset here, so that way we can start off the piece, come across, not worry about hitting our other one, off the piece, come across, yada yada. First coat's going to be pretty light. You want to just start up like a tack coat. So, and then we'll build it up from there, adding the different layers of paint and metallic, and paying attention to making sure we get a nice even distribution of that. So while that's happening, I won't be talking, but you'll get to see what I'm doing, how I'm doing it in real time, and that sort of stuff. So I'm going to put the respirator on, and let's get going.